Long before the great sagas were written, before the names of kings were carved into stone, there lived a Viking ruler named Eirik Stormhand, not celebrated in halls of gold, not feared across oceans of war, but loved, quietly, deeply, and completely loved by his people. He ruled a small kingdom on the edge of Norway, where the mountains met the sea and the winters lasted so long that the stars became old friends. His village was not the largest, his fleet was not the mightiest, but under Eirik's rule, no child went hungry through the frost months, and no elder sat alone by a cold fire. He had earned his name, Stormhand, not from battle, but from the sea itself. It was said that on the night of his birth, a great storm rolled in from the north, and then, without reason, went completely still the moment he took his first breath. The fishermen took it as a sign. The sea, they said, had blessed this child, and the sea never forgot its own. Eirik grew into a man of few words and steady hands. He listened more than he spoke. He walked the docks each morning before anyone else was awake, running his fingers along the wooden hulls of his people's boats, checking the ropes, the knots, the wear on the sails. Not because he had to, because he wanted his people to wake up knowing someone had already been watching over them while they slept. He never married for power. He married for love, a woman named Astrid, a mapmaker's daughter from the southern fjords, who could read the stars like a language and laughed easily and often. Together they had 2 daughters, and Eirik taught them both to sail before they could read. For 30 years he ruled with open hands. Then came the winter that would not end. It was the coldest season in living memory. The fjords froze solid. The fishing boats sat locked in ice for months. Food grew scarce. Other jarls from neighboring lands began to eye Eirik's stores, his land, his coastline. His advisors urged him to prepare for war. Eirik sat quietly for a long time. Then he stood, walked to the shore, and looked out at the frozen sea. "There will be no war," he said simply. "Not over hunger. Hungry men make poor enemies and worse allies." Instead, he opened his own stores, the reserves he had spent a decade carefully building, and sent provisions to the neighboring villages. All of them, even the ones who had whispered about taking from him, his advisors thought him foolish. His people thought him something close to sacred. By spring, when the ice broke and the sea breathed again, every village along that coastline remembered what Eirik had done. Not one of them ever raised a sword against him. Not one. He lived to be an old man, which was rare in those days for a king. On the last night of his life, he asked to be carried down to the water's edge. He lay on a simple wooden boat, wrapped in a gray wool cloak, his daughters on either side of him, Astrid holding his weathered hand. The stars were very bright. The sea was perfectly calm. He smiled at the sky the way a man smiles when he has lived exactly the life he meant to live. "Put me in," he whispered. And so they did. The boat drifted slowly out into the dark water, carrying the last of the flame, until the light grew small and soft, and then became just another star on the horizon. They say on very still nights, when the fjords are quiet and the wind has gone to sleep, you can still see a faint light moving gently on the water. Not frightening, not lost, just keeping watch, just like he always did.